Once the warm weather rolls around, which technically should be here now, but it's actually kind of cold today. But once it actually does, you might not actually want to reach for the warm, cozy wool projects that you were doing a few months ago. It doesn't mean you have to stop knitting. There are a lot of projects out there that not only are great for wearing in the hotter weather, but they're also made with fibers that are easier to work with when it's so hot and you're not gonna be like sweating all over your yarn. And I'm talking about cotton today. And of course, cotton is a type of fiber that is also a natural fiber, just like wool, but it comes from plants rather than from animals. And so a lot of people who are vegan also like to reach out for cotton. I do want to point out that cotton has different properties from wool. And although it's a very sturdy and durable fiber, and that's why a lot of people reach out for making things like dishcloths that will stand being washed over and over and that are very absorbent. Cotton yarn also does not have the same elasticity that something like wool or other types of fibers has, and therefore tends to stretch out and not hold its shape as much. So that's something to keep in mind before you choose to substitute cotton for something else in a project. However, there are a lot of projects out there that already have this in mind, that they know how cotton works and that choose it correctly for the type of project. That doesn't mean all you can knit are like hang towels and dishcloths with cotton. Cotton yarn has come a long way, and there are a lot of really, really nice quality cotton yarns out there. And therefore, I want to tell you some projects that I recommend knitting with this type of yarn, specific patterns. But before we go into the actual patterns, for today's sponsor, I want to talk to you about the Nitpick Summer Sale. And if you don't know about Nitpicks, you must be living on a rock, or you must be very new to the knitting world, because Nitpicks is a great yarn brand that not only has very good quality yarn, but it's also very accessible priced, and they're having a sale right now, so it's a really good time to try it out if you haven't. So Nitpicks actually only has two big yarn sales during the year. One of them is the summer yarn sale, and it's a great sale because it goes on for the entire month of July and half of the month of June. So starting right now is when the summer yarn sale for 2025 starts. Some of the deals that they have are really, really good. For example, one of the most famous ones that's coming up is going to be the 2, 4, and 6 sale, which means they'll have yarn for $2, $4, and $6. But since we're talking about cotton today, I'm gonna recommend you some of the cotton yarns that are available on Nitpicks. There's of course Dishy, which, as the name suggests, is great for dishcloths, and like it's the classic cotton yarn, worsted weight, very durable. They also have a DK yarn called Cotlin, which is actually a mix of cotton and linen. So that's a different approach and also really nice yarn. And another different type of cotton yarn that they have is one called VVD. This one's newer. I have not knit with this one yet, but it's a DK yarn from mercerized cotton. If any of these sound great to you, check out my affiliate link below so that you can go straight to their sale and get yourself cotton yarn or any other yarn while the summer sale lasts. So now let's talk about patterns. And I actually have made videos before where I talk about summer patterns. It's something that I really enjoy knitting, actually, that I've made a lot of. If you want to hear about summer tops made with cotton yarn or other types of yarn that are great for the summer, then I recommend my video that I made, I think last year, and that touches on a whole bunch of patterns for tops, and a lot of them are free. So check that out. Today I'm going to touch on a wider variety of patterns, again, for different levels, for some free, some not free, and kind of give you a sense of everything that you could knit with cotton this summer. So the first one, it's going to be a little out of left field maybe, because I had not thought about knitting a blanket with cotton, but it makes sense. So bear with me. So this is the Sunshine Chevron blanket, which is a Nitpick's pattern actually, by coincidence. And this one uses Pima cotton, which is a different type of cotton called Billow. That's the name of the yarn in Nitpicks if you want to find it. And it is a bulky yarn. And the pattern is free, so you can just grab that whenever and go for it. And this one is a beginner type of pattern. It mostly uses knits and purls. So if you can do that, you can knit this. And but why would you want to knit a blanket in cotton, you may ask yourself. And I think several reasons. You got to keep in mind that, again, this is going to be, because it's cotton, it's not gonna like hold the shape as much. So it doesn't really matter with blankets. If they get kind of bigger, that's not really a problem. I think even in the summer, you might want to cover yourself with a blanket, you know, something that is lighter, or like something that is not gonna be as like, you know, thick or like hold as much warmth. It could be a great blanket that you can use for a pet, for example, or a child or a baby. So maybe someone who you will need to wash it a lot. So if you had a wool or even acrylic blanket that is going to be washed a lot, it's not going to hold as well. It's not going to like being thrown in the wash very often. Whereas if you use cotton, it's probably going to survive that much better and like look pretty good after even a few washes. So it's going to be more durable. I think this one is specifically kind of thought of as like a baby blanket, but it doesn't, there's nothing about it that says baby. So you could just use it as a lap blanket or like a, you know, couch blanket or something like that, or even a pet blanket. So knitting a cotton blanket, it's something that I at first I was like, I'm not sure that could work. But then I looked at this pattern and I can totally see it, and I think it would turn out really nice, very durable. And this one's really easy, but also looks fun because it has kind of a chevron pattern to it. I really like the yellow on the picture. Next up, we've got something that looks really airy, and that would be great for the beach or for wearing on top of a swimsuit or at the pool, or literally just in the summertime if you want to wear like some sort of wrap on top of whatever you're wearing. And this is the Lakeside Beach wrap by Knitatitude, and I actually started this pattern a while ago, and then I really didn't like the yarn that I have been working with, so I frogged it, and so now I own the pattern. I kind of want to try again because it's a very beautiful pattern that kind of looks like crochet, but it's actually all knit. So if you're one knitter who has never tried crochet and likes the look of it and would like to try something like this is the time. This one's a great one. It's very lacy, very open kind of stitch. And I think it's very, like, doesn't look too hard, but I would probably recommend it more towards like an intermediate knitter, like a more confident one that could try a different stitch and feel confident with it. And of course, this is great for, like I said, the beach, the lake, the pool, just like a really airy complement to an outfit that you're wearing or to wear on top of a swimsuit. It uses iron weight cotton yarn, and it's not free, but I think there is a free version. So you can get a PDF version or you can find it on her website for free. So those are two options if you want to try it out. I think this one is really pretty and kind of different because there are a lot of like crochet style patterns like this or other kind of cover up patterns, but this is my favorite of all the ones I've seen. That is knit with cotton. So even though I've said that dishcloths are not the only thing that you can knit with cotton or hand towels, I am going to throw in there at least one washcloth / hand towel pattern because this one's really pretty and very unique. And I don't know, I think it would make a great gift. So this one is the Easy Scallop Washcloth by Purl Soho. It is a free pattern as well, and it uses DK cotton yarn. This one I think is definitely also very beginner friendly, very easy to make, level, and it is just like a simple hand towel or washcloth with a very beautiful scalloped edge. I sometimes think the simpler is the most elegant, and this is the case with this pattern. And of course you end up with something that is usable, that looks very unique, that you can make in any color that you want for your own home or for a gift. So all in all, a really nice simple pattern that I think could be whipped out really quickly and that it's free. So if you want to change up your dishcloth game and not make like the typical like square dishcloth, this is something new that you could try. Now I'm gonna go more into garments, and one thing that I'm gonna recommend a lot, and kind of goes with the first one that I mentioned, is that cotton is actually really handy when you're knitting for babies. So if anybody in your life or you yourself are having a baby anytime soon, and especially if they're not a winter baby, I do recommend considering cotton as your main fiber for knitting for them, because again, it's very durable. You're gonna be able to wash it a lot, and even if it stretches out a bit, well, the kids kind of grow too, so it doesn't really hurt it as much. And there's so many patterns out there, so many baby patterns, but one designer that I always go back to whenever I'm knitting for a baby is Knitting for Olive. And Knitting for Olive has this beautiful romper called the Little Sister Romper that uses fingering cotton yarn. It's not free, it's about $8, but it is super, super cute. It's like your quintessential romper. So I feel like from this one, you can make, for every baby you've ever met in the future, you can make one, and it would come in like really, really cheap. This is why I love knitting for babies, because you don't need a lot of yarn. You only like 1 or 2 skeins and you're good. And so depending on the size. So this one's really cute and very summery, and again, cotton is like the right choice for this type of pattern. I think this one's a more like a confident beginner type of pattern. Like if you are any garment, you kind of have to be more confident, goes more towards intermediate, just because you do have to meet gauge. So if you don't know what that means, gotta go figure that out before you go into a garment. But baby clothing is always a great way to get started. So I do recommend something like this if you want to knit for babies. And again, there's so many patterns out there. And a lot of people want to knit with acrylic or with wool even. But knitting with cotton just is going to make the parent, whoever they are, very grateful, because once you tell them, you can just throw it in the wash. So like I said, I have a whole video where I have a bunch of patterns for summer tops, so I'm not gonna go too deep into those, but I do have a couple of options that I want to show you because they're not in that video, and they are simple enough that again, a confident beginner or early intermediate knitter could make both of these. So the first one is the Cindy top. It's a pattern by Kolibri, and it uses DK cotton yarn, or you can also do 2 fingering weight yarns held together. It is not free, it's about $8. And I like this one because first of all, it has 2 options, so you can make 2 different tops with the same pattern. So the simple one is kind of just a sleeveless top, crop top, very cute. And then there's also an option where you have kind of like a similar top, but then at the bottom it has like a little tie in the crop top that looks very, very cute. So that it would be a very simple thing to knit, and again, great in cotton. And a lot of the summer patterns in cotton that I recommend usually have a lot of lace. This one doesn't, it's mostly stockinette, but it would work. I can see how the cotton would hold. There's nothing about it that would not look good. And even if it's stretched out a little bit over time, because it's a crop top, it's not like you're gonna end up with like a gigantic top. So I think all in all, this one's a great option if you wanna get your hand on a garment that you can actually wear in the summer, that's not gonna take a long time, that is not gonna be too hard, but it's still very cute and wearable and durable. The second recommendation for knitting with cotton that I'm going to make for knitters, because I feel like crocheters do this a lot, but knitters may not as much, is to knit a bralette. And I am a firm believer that bralettes are for everyone and anyone, and even if you don't want to wear them publicly, like if you want to wear them under your clothes, but still they can be very comfy, and if they're made with cotton, I think it's even better because they'll be sturdier, they'll absorb any moisture, and they'll be comfortable and breathable. So I think it's a good option to knit a bralette with cotton yarn. And the one that I liked that I found for this video is called the Aphrodite Bralette, and it is by the designer Sonata Pileckaite, and hopefully I said that right. And this one is definitely intermediate. I would not recommend this one for a beginner. I would go for more like intermediate or even very confident intermediate knitter. It is not free. It's about $8, and it uses DK cotton yarn. I just think it looks really well made. It looks like the designer really thought out how it's going to be worn and what parts need more support. But it's also very cute and looks very comfortable, and I think even if you're wearing it on their clothes or if you're wearing it on its own, you could even wear it to the beach as a kind of top or even swimsuit. So I think it looks beautiful. And I don't know, I feel like this one is just, I've seen a lot of bralettes, and this was one that I, just by looking at it, I feel like would be very, very versatile and comfortable. So if you want to try your hand on something different, still wearable, and that doesn't use a lot of yarn, I would go for a bralette like this one. So if you're knitting with cotton, know that there's a lot of options. Cotton has come a long way from the really like thick and rough type of cotton yarn that a lot of people think about. There are different kinds and different weights, and that can make really beautiful garments or really sturdy home decor or clothing for babies or dogs or pets that are gonna need washing a lot. So in all, I think it's like a really versatile fiber that sometimes gets overlooked. And I've heard people say, you know, once it's hot, I don't really knit, and I wait until it's cold again. And I don't think that's true. I don't think that's necessary. I think there's ways around it. And I personally knit all year long, and you should too, because why not? And believe me, there's nothing better in the world than sitting by a poolside or by the ocean and knitting. And I do recommend cotton yarn when you do that, because way easier to wash all that sand off. Please subscribe and let me know if you have any more recommendation for cotton patterns, and I will see you on the next one. Happy knitting!